shed innocent blood. What's blood for, if not for shedding?
Listen, asshole!
Did you know I'm utterly insane?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you. You never paid any attention. What you did to him. Look what you did to him. What have you done to it? What have you done to its eyes? What have you done to him, you maniac?
Don't you blame the movies? Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Texas Chainsaw, Dawn of the Dead, The Hills Have Eyes, Amityville Horror, Last House on the Left, Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, My Bloody Valentine, When a Stranger Calls, Prom Night, Black Christmas, House of Wax, The Fog, Piranha. It's one of those, right?
Hi, I'm Charles.
And I'm Christopher.
And this is Dirty Little Horror, the show that works in my accent.
The show works in my accent as well, just the title it doesn't.
You have to finish the whole intro.
But not mine.
God damn you. I'm leaving that in. We're not starting over.
What's the name of the show then, Charles?
Dirty Little Horror.
There we go.
How did you die this week, Christopher?
Impersonating Santa, I fell down a chimney. Well, did I fall, or because this is a horror podcast, was I pushed?
Yours involve a lot of chimneys.
No.
Your last one, you were in a rug and then thrown in the fire, and then you were a puff of smoke through the chimney.
Oh, I was too.
Yeah.
I had some deep-seated chimney issues. I wonder what sexual thing that means.
But knowing you as a person, you were pushed. You didn't fall.
Okay, thank you. And how did you die?
I asphyxiated on poppers.
How did that even happen?
If you do poppers too much, like your lips and your nails will turn blue because there's no oxygen in your blood.
Oh.
So if you just do too many, you die.
You struck on the air.
Yep.
Well, that's what you get for doing poppers in the first place.
Listen.
Not shaming them, just that for me personally, it's like breathing in a headache, so...
Yeah, but like a fun headache.
Oh yeah, because that's a thing.
If you get a headache, you're getting the wrong ones.
Alright, so speaking of headaches...
Speaking of headaches?
No, wait. What I meant to say is, speaking of things that are a headache, I was leading into the movie we're talking about this week, and what a nightmare it would be to live in.
Oh, it would, yeah. I couldn't do it.
The movie is 2018's A Quiet Place.
Shh.
So the whole podcast is going to be us in silence, just signing it in respect for the film.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
For the entire episode, we should use our NPR voices.
And this is how we'll be talking. Trying not to make any noise.
That's far too loud.
But I'm real close to the microphone, so you can hear every smack of saliva in my mouth.
Oh, gross.
As I make a consonant.
That's disgusting.
Okay, I'll stop now. So we're doing A Quiet Place, starring Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, directed by John Krasinski, and written by Brian Wood, Scott Beck, and John Krasinski, who really had his finger on a lot of pies, this film.
Wait, he wrote it as well?
The first draft was by Brian Woods and Scott Beck.
Right.
Who are, they're already horror writers. Their previous works, I checked, include titles such as Haunt and Nightlight and The Bride Wore Blood. So they have a shtick.
The Bride Wore Blood?
The Bride Wore Blood.
Okay, sure. That's a title.
I had to double check that. That is what it's called, The Bride Wore Blood. So they had a spec script written, and then the draft was given to John Krasinski, and he did a pass over it. So the final product is the three of them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Anyway, this film has a 95% score on Rotten Tomatoes for a start.
It's so good.
It is worth 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is a brilliant film.
It's one of those movies where from beginning to end, you're just like in a constant state of tension.
Yes. Which is rare and also great.
Yeah. Like I didn't get a lot of jump scares. I mean, they had them in the movie.
Yeah.
But like, again, I'm so conditioned to like not react to them anymore. Unlike you, Christopher.
Oh, yeah. Going to the movies with me is an experience. If there's a jump scare, I'm going to react to it.
Listen, if you want to get to like first or second base with Christopher, take him to a horror movie because it's real easy. I wasn't even trying.
Wait, how does getting to first base?
Like in high school when you would take like the girl you liked to a horror movie because she would freak out and like cuddle up to you and then you could like...
I did not cuddle up to you.
You were pretty close.
All right.
Yeah.
I like a scare.
Yeah.
What's the point of going to a movie to be scared if you're not going to react when you're scared?
I mean, you could also go to a horror movie to make fun of it.
Sure. And I've done that as well.
Yeah.
But no, this movie was genuinely scary enough that I leant right into the scare. So yeah, I jumped when there were jump scares. But you're right, this film does have just a foreboding sense all the way through.
It's a rare instance of a horror movie having good jump scares and not one, overusing them, because
Yep.
you can't do that too many times in a movie like this. But also, I really hate that trend that came out maybe in the last decade or so of people getting set up for a jump scare and then getting no relief of that tension.
Oh, yeah.
That's really big in like the last 10 or 15 years in horror movies.
Which is worse? Being set up for a jump scare and then it not coming, or a cheap shot jump scare that isn't scary, like it's a cat or a car backfiring or something?
I'd rather have that because sometimes those are funny.
Yeah.
Whereas like the fake one that you get no cum shot for is just like...
You just refer to it as the cum shot?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
I'd rather have a bad orgasm than blue balls when it comes to a horror movie.
That's an excellent point, and so well made. That metaphor
You're
is
welcome.
the best that's happened in this podcast so far. I thought we'd have a sophomore slump, and look, here we are, and you're making excellent blue balls analogies.
I'm going to bring everything back to penises.
Good. That is the tagline of this show.
Mm-hmm. I mean, also, it's rare to find a horror movie that's just like so well acted by literally everyone.
Every single person.
Are we doing spoilers, or should we save those for the end?
I think let's save it for the end, or try and avoid them together. I think we can talk about 3/4 of the film without spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, it's relatively new.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie is also like a big campaign for birth control.
Absolutely. 100%. This movie is just do not have kids.
Kids will get you murdered.
It's weird because in an interview on Graham Norton, John Krasinski fully says that part of this film is a love letter to his kids. It's like a message saying that there's nothing he wouldn't do for them. All I could see was just that kids ruin literally everything.
Like, you're living in this state of silence. It's all you've known for almost your entire life. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Stop making so much noise.
Actually, we should probably give a rough a synopsis of this for people who either who haven't seen it and don't intend to see it, which is why they're listening still now, or haven't seen it, want to see it, and trust us to not spoil it. So, in the year 2020, over a course of 3 months, monsters arrived on Earth. They can't see, but they can hear everything. They hunt by sound, and anything that made noise was killed. This family, the Abbott family, I believe it is, parents Lee and Evelyn, and children Reagan, Marcus, and Bo. Reagan was born deaf, so they can survive. They've managed to survive by being very quiet and using sign language. In the very beginning of the film, they're out scavenging in a ghost town, and the youngest kid, Bo, who's 4 years old, grabs a toy rocket that has batteries and makes noise. So, of course, they all freak out, snatch the toy off him, take the batteries out, put it down, and they go to leave the shop. Reagan, the deaf daughter...
This is the second movie we have a Reagan.
Yeah, it is two.
2 in a row.
2 Reagans.
I wonder if she was named that on purpose.
Possibly. So Reagan, being a nice older sister, gives the rocket without batteries back to Bo. Bo, being a little shit 4-year-old, as all 4-year-olds are. I'm sure yours is lovely, whoever's listening right now with a 4-year-old. I'm sure yours is delightful.
I don't think so.
But the rest are all garbage. Puts the batteries back in. And this is the bit you've all seen in the trailer. They're walking down the street, outside, down the road, being as quiet as possible, walking on a trail of sand they've laid down so they don't make any noise. And suddenly, out comes the big rocket noise, which attracts the monster, and John Krasinski's character Lee has to sprint back and try to save his son. Now, obviously, the trailer's set up to look like he saves his son, because why wouldn't you? That's how films work, and that's how trailers work. This is one spoiler I feel no shame giving away. It doesn't work. That kid's dead.
This is the one that I wanted to spoil 5 minutes ago.
He's dead.
The kid dies.
The kid dies, like, immediately. They cut to a year later, and it's just the 2 parents and the 2 kids trying to make their way. Reagan then has guilt about being the cause of Bo's death. The dad has guilt. Everyone has guilt. And, plot twist, the mum, Evelyn, has gotten pregnant.
Bad idea.
Also, how?
Babies cry.
And what kind of unsatisfying silent sex would that have been?
Have you never had sex with a ball gag?
Just think about what you know about me and ask yourself that question again.
You've never had sex with a ball gag?
I've never had sex with a ball gag.
Neither have I, but I think that you could have silent sex if you really needed to.
I don't want to give too much away because family members listen to this show, but if there's sex and you don't have this sound at some point, then what's the point?
Oh, that's what you're thinking of. Okay.
I mean, I was thinking also about grunts and moans. And...
No! Get off me!
Oh, is that the noise you make? Mine's more like a... Not just the noises, but yeah, the percussive noises of two or more bodies. As our favourite character Miranda says, when dos become uno.
Thank you for adding in more than one.
Hey, I'm not here to judge.
Yeah, more than two. But yes, that little kid bit it hard.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't feel bad saying this, deserved it.
Yeah, because that kid did nothing but cause trouble the entire time.
No, he was on screen for all of 10 minutes.
And was a rat for all of it.
Before it even happened, I was like, I hope that kid dies.
That might say more about you, particularly, than the narrative of the film. But yeah, I agree.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
You need to know how to survive in this horror-scape. It also was filmed in upstate New York.
It was.
Where I'm from.
Ah.
Which is why when we walked out, I was like, that place looked exactly like where I grew up. And then I looked it up, and it was.
Did you also walk along trails of sand?
That's what you do in upstate New York.
Walk along trails of sand?
Barefoot. In the fall.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. There are monsters in the woods up there.
This is a documentary.
It is.
Wow.
Based on a true story.
All right, so that's the plot of the film is them surviving, and somehow Evelyn has to try and have a baby. Which, okay, let's say they managed to have completely silent, non-percussive sex, and then they got pregnant.
It was IVF.
How did they do IVF?
Turkey baster.
What would be the point?
Baby.
Why do they want to have a baby?
Why do they want any of these children?
That's a fair point. All right, so they're...
I'm sure that they have that kind of like, we have to repopulate the earth bullshit.
Ew.
And like, at the end of every zombie movie, there has to be a guy and a girl so they can repopulate.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this right now. I have it on record. If it ever comes down to it that I'm one of the last people alive and it falls on my shoulders to repopulate the human race is dying out.
And the human race thanks you.
You're all welcome.
I also think that this is an interesting movie in regards to, I mean, the actress Millicent Simmons, who plays Reagan, is actually deaf. But I think it says that either having a disability or having someone in your family who has a disability can turn out to be
an evolutionary advantage.
A good thing. Because, like, if she hadn't been born deaf, none of the family members probably would have known sign language. They'd have no way to communicate with each other.
That's true.
And then they probably would have died.
Yeah.
Before this movie ever occurred.
The only reason they're all alive at all is because of Reagan.
Yeah.
And because she was born deaf.
And she has a lot of guilt about Bo dying in the beginning, but I don't think that that's her fault at all.
No, not at all. But I think, sidebar, Millicent Simmons does an amazing job. Like, her performance is great. Probably as an extension of me not really particularly liking kids that much. I don't care particularly for child actors. So when there is a good one, I'm blown away. And Millicent Simmons is excellent. Mm-hmm. Actually, John Krasinski said when making the film, he definitely wanted that character to be played by someone who was actually deaf.
I don't think you would have been able to get away with it if you hadn't.
No, it's completely untoward to have a non-deaf actor playing a deaf person, but also he wanted the expertise of someone who would know it and be able to convey the risk and how it goes about. And to that end, another one of Krasinski's decisions was whenever they showed the film from Reagan's perspective, all the sound was cut out, which
it's amazing.
Was a beautiful addition, and was so effective in not just showing us what it's like to be Reagan and living in that world, but also it just heightened the scariness because you couldn't hear anything at all. Least of all the approaching footsteps or the weird clicking of a monster that might kill you.
Weird clicking. Do you think that was kind of like radar for them?
I think the clicking was meant to represent some kind of echolocation, but if it is, it's a very ineffective one. Those monsters are useless. I
want to know, did they just like show up one day and move into the woods and be like, oh, by the way, we're going to eat all of you?
They landed on Earth.
Where did it say that?
You know when they set up the film and there are TV screens and newspaper cutouts? It might just be in a synopsis I've read somewhere, but there definitely were aliens that crash landed on Earth.
Oh.
Or came to Earth.
Okay. I just remember, I remember seeing the newspaper headlines being like, it's sound!
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's how they're finding you. That's my old newspaper voice. Even though it was set in the future. People who work at newspapers still talk like that.
I certainly do.
Yeah.
Stop the presses! Start the presses! I can't do it very well. Can we talk about... We've already established that John Krasinski did everything. He's in it. He directed it. He did a draft of the script. He played the monster for some motion capture. But behind that, this film exists pretty much because of Emily Blunt.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because first of all, she's the one that convinced John Krasinski to take it on board as director. And then she suggested an actor to play the wife in the film. Then he wrote a draft of it, gave it to her to read. She read it and was like, oh no. I'm going to be in it instead.
Yeah.
It's an interview. This is from her lips. She said it on Graham Norton that technically the woman who was never officially hired, she wasn't. There was
Did
no
it say who
contracts.
it was?
No.
Okay.
It's a friend of hers, but it was discussed and she was approached.
Anne Hathaway.
Really?
I don't know.
Is that your guess?
I'm guessing.
Emily Blunt has one friend.
Anne Hathaway.
That is
Meryl Streep.
bullshit. Emily Blunt is friends with every single person she's ever met.
Stanley Tucci. Just listing people from The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, Adrienne Grenier.
Yeah.
No, that's the one person Emily Blunt would not be friends with. Because why would you?
I don't know.
So yeah, so this woman was approached, this actor, friend of theirs, and then Emily was like, oh, soz, nope, it's mine now. And then she was in it.
Yeah. And also, she is fucking outstanding in this movie.
She's outstanding in everything.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't go to a horror movie and be like, Scream Queen, Emily Blunt.
That is true.
Because I wouldn't expect to see her in a movie like this.
And I guess you do have to be an excellent actor to be in a horror film in which you can't make noise. You've got to do so much with your face. Mm-hmm. There's one particular scene where the very pregnant Emily Blunt starts going into labour. She doesn't make any sound with the contractions, so the monster's not attracted. She walks down the steps to the basement to get ready to have contractions. Steps fully on a nail. Like fully. Like the whole thing goes into her
It's
heel.
another spoiler, Christopher.
It's not like a third of the way into the film.
Okay.
So there she is, contracting, bleeding from the foot, and a monster's coming. And she can't make any noise. That is a very thrilling scene. That's all I had to say.
Okay. It was also done in one shot. They did that in one.
Was too.
Her bathtub. Well, at least once she gets up to the bathtub, which you see in the trailer, that was done in one take.
Incredible.
They didn't do it a second time,
Ugh.
which is outstanding.
So here's my question. You live in a place, there are monsters that are attracted to sound. You can't make any noise. What about farts? Because that'd be a real issue for me.
For you specifically?
Oh, yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, we can all, swing our hips in a way to make them come out silently, but sometimes you're just uncomfortable. Sometimes you just have to lie down and let loose. And how do you do that? You just live in a permanent state of gastrointestinal distress?
You go sit on a pillow.
Would that be enough?
For me, it might be. I don't have voluminous farts, Christopher.
Nothing wrong with a noisy fart, Charles.
If you're home alone and not being hunted by monsters.
True.
But we've already established that you would die before you even got to farting.
Me?
Yeah.
Why would I die?
Have you met you?
I've met me. Mm-hmm. Are you saying I'm loud?
I'm saying that you talk a lot. Like, even when everyone has to be quiet because there's no other noise happening, you would just be like, so guys, what do you want to do today? And the monsters would just descend.
That is so unfair.
Do you want to go to the park?
All right. I brought up the farts thing because that's funny, because farts are funny. I don't care who you are, farts are funny. But what about sneezes? You can't hide those. And they come out of nowhere.
I think you're reading far too much into this movie.
What about snoring?
You're dead.
I'd be dead.
Dead.
Dead. Mm-hmm. I'd be so dead.
I would try and find one of those, what do you call them?
CPAP machines?
Yeah.
They are so noisy. They themselves make a lot of noise.
Oh, they do, don't they?
Just to sleep with just like 2 Dunkin' Donut straws jammed up your nose.
We've already established that both of us would die. So
why would you die?
Stop trying to... Oh, I would be like, I'm not going to do this. Ah! My survival instinct can't deal with that. I'm out.
Charles's fight or flight isn't really fight or flight, it's just dead.
Do you remember when, in Family Guy, when Meg's Care Bear jumps out the window and she's like, no, come back, and it looks back at her and then jumps in front of a semi?
Yes.
That's me.
That's alright.
Like,
so we're both dead.
Sorry. Both of them fully our fault. Mine is pretty much suicide.
Alright. Look, that's fair.
Once I realized what was happening, a good hour. You, 2.5. Maybe.
Oh, so I outlive you at least. Of
In
the two of us,
in
I'm
this
the
one
final girl.
In this one horror movie, yeah, you would.
That's so pleasing to know. So there's one point in the film where Lee, the dad, shows his son Marcus a waterfall. They go out to go fishing. He's trying to teach his son how to fish so they can look after themselves.
Oh, before we get into this, the fact that they wouldn't let Reagan go, it's one of those stupid things. Like, I didn't understand. She wanted to go. Marcus didn't want to go. Arguably, both of them need to go to learn how to survive. Yes, they should also probably stay home with Emily Blunt's character, Evelyn. Mm-hmm. They should stay home with her and learn to do things that
also
adults...
look after the very pregnant mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that Reagan... Because when she goes into labor, Reagan should have been there. Mm-hmm. I understand that she probably would have been a lot more help than Marcus would if she went into labor, which she did, 'cause who didn't see that coming?
Yeah.
I get, but there are skills that both of your children need to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the scene, it just seemed a little bit like he was like, "No, you're the girl. You have to stay home."
Yeah. It would help the story go forward because yes, it meant that Reagan was angry. Evelyn was alone. But yes, if we're going to be real nitpicky, that's the one point in the film that felt a bit contrived story-ish. Like it was forced in. Because there's really no reason why they couldn't go, okay, fine, kid, you stay home, you go. We'll switch places next time.
If anything, avoiding a fight out in the open.
Yeah.
Where the monsters are.
Yeah.
To be like, cool, great, you come. Go get your shit.
Yeah, exactly. So they go fishing and it's there that the dad reveals he has found out, I don't know how he found this out, and I don't know how he tested it, that when there's a louder sound nearby, you can make quiet sounds. So he can talk in a very quiet voice when they're near the rushing of the river, and then he walks the...
No, he fully screams.
No, then he goes over to the waterfall, and then he screams.
Yeah.
Gives it a... Okay, so this is a thing that jarred to me as an Australian, speaking of cum shots that don't come. In Australia, if you go to a ravine or somewhere loud and you want to yell at, or you're trying to attract attention of someone far away, you yell cooey. So it's cooey! He just yells coo, and I got no payoff. So, to all Australians there, just brace yourselves that he's going to go out there, get to the waterfall and go, look at this, coo! And nothing. It's not half annoying. But anyway, he goes and so they can scream. I have two questions. One, as I previously said, how did you test that? Like, how big were your balls when you're like, anyone who makes a sound instantly dies, but I have a theory, let me just try yell real quick. I would not bother trying that. And two, why hasn't he told the rest of his beloved family that there is one spot where they can go and get their screams out?
That's where they had sex.
That's where they farted.
I have to fart. Run to the waterfall.
Where are you going? Nowhere. Actually, I, years and years ago, used to be so shy that I would go outside to the very backyard, stand up with my butt up against the fence and fart there so that no one could hear me.
Like through the fence?
Yeah. Oh, the chain link fence, so...
It's Arby's problem now.
So yeah, I get that'd be a lifestyle I could live with. I could 100% run down to the river, go to the waterfall, and come back home feeling much better.
It's odd that your main concern for this whole movie is farting.
I need to know the logistics.
You need to suspend your disbelief and just be like, okay, no one in this world farts.
They do eat very healthily. Maybe they don't have to. All just fish and soft vegetables.
No popcorn. Speaking of popcorn, trying to eat that while we were watching the movie.
Oh my god.
Just like crunch. Crunch.
You had popcorn and I had a bag of sour Skittles.
Yeah.
Now, what a nightmare.
For everyone. What the girl next to me, they fully brought in like hot food from somewhere else. They had so much food and it smelled so good.
But if it was hot, at least it would have been less likely to crunch.
Yeah. Well, they weren't eating quietly. They still had wrappers and shit.
Oh, God.
But
another tip, if you're going to go and see it in cinema, if it's still playing in cinemas, take like soup or... Soup's no good.
Sorry if that was really loud.
Take in just a freshly made quesadilla.
That's not gonna work either.
Why?
Because if it's freshly made, you'd be like, bite into it and hot, hot, hot.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna find a way to get rid of all of your food.
Gazpacho?
You still slurp that. It's soup.
A ham sandwich.
No, because then you bite into it and go, ugh.
Why do you go, ugh?
Throw it at the screen.
Oh, man. A cheese sandwich.
What kind of cheese?
What kind of cheese do you like?
Vegan cheese?
A vegan cheese sandwich.
No, throw it away.
A boiled egg. A peeled boiled egg.
Oh, okay. Egg farts. It's gonna get you eventually.
Soft licorice.
Ugh.
Oh, okay.
The thing where you're like, and
Cake.
throw it away. Okay, fine.
You like cake?
Yep.
All right, there you go, people. If you haven't seen it in the cinema yet and you want to, take cake.
What kind of cake?
What kind of cake do you like?
That's not what I asked you. Why are you answering a question with a question?
Carrot cake.
With or without raisins?
Without, you fucking monster.
They were deal.
Okay, great.
I don't like carrot cake with raisins.
Oh, that's
awful.
an abomination.
Disgusting.
I don't like anything with raisins. The only thing I like with raisins is raisins. If you put raisins in anything, you fucked whatever you're making.
Raisin Bran.
Except Raisin Bran. Raisin Bran, fine. Raisins on their own, fine. Anything else, get the fuck out.
I used to have a roommate who was also named Chris, and he had such a hatred for raisins. He'd be like, I hate raisins, and I hate everything that rhymes with raisins.
Which is craisins?
And that's it. End of list. And he also hated craisins.
Oh, that's legitimate. I need to talk about my pet peeve. raisins is when they're advertising a breakfast cereal and they advertise them as containing plump, juicy raisins. Do you know what a plump, juicy raisin is? A fucking failed raisin. A plump, juicy raisin is a grape. They are by definition shriveled
And dry.
and dry. So it's plump and juicy, it's a fucking grape, and needs to be sent back to the raisin factory.
We're really off topic here. You're ranting about raisins.
I never claimed that I would keep this podcast on topic.
Okay.
You could eat raisins. They're quiet.
You could.
See, I brought it back. Brought it right back. Flawlessly. Seamlessly.
How often would you just want to eat raisins, though?
Never.
Right.
Never.
Never.
So now that we've gone off topic and talked nonsense, I'm going to talk earnestly about a bit of the film that was amazing, even though it involved children. So, after the fishing expedition, Reagan fucks off, and then while Evelyn is going into labour and being stalked by a monster, the dad, Lee, sends the son to go and set off a diversion, which is a bunch of fireworks.
Perfect.
So he goes off to set off fireworks. Reagan's fucked off somewhere. Lee gets back to the house, finds Evelyn. She's had the baby, at which point she promptly has a nap, which why wouldn't you? You've just had a baby silently on your own. But when she wakes up, she realizes that Marcus and Reagan are both gone and has a complete freak out to Lee and tells him he has to go find them. And it made me realize that if your kids are missing, your very first instinct is to call out for them. To not be able to do that. Even I don't have kids and don't plan to have kids, found that a really, really difficult, touching moment. Just like, fuck, how horrifying would that be to not know where your kids are and not be able to shout for them. Mm-hmm. And again, because she's brilliant, Emily Blunt played that so well, that just impotence of not being able to do anything except thump on Lee's chest and say, go find our fucking kids.
I guess in them building like the soundproof basement too, once they knew that the baby was coming and like pasting all that fucking newspaper to the wall, you can go down there to fart.
Oh yeah, that's what they
I'm just going to keep circling back around to farts.
To farting. There's the box they built for the baby,
yeah,
which, again, more trouble than it's worth. They built a box that would fit a tube so they could pump an oxygen tank into it so the baby could still breathe, but literally a big wooden box. Just have a baby, pop it in the box.
Why don't we do that with all babies? Pop them in a box, it can breathe. Leave it.
No, because babies,
put it on the shelf.
No, that's actually, babies are cute. I love babies. It's once they become children that I don't know how to deal with it.
No. Until you can articulate to me your wants and needs,
yeah,
I want nothing to do with you.
I have a 2.5-year-old niece. The entire time she was an infant, she was wonderful. And then she became a bratty toddler. Last night, she learned how to say my name. And now I love her again. That's not true. I loved the entire time.
You're easy.
I'm easy what?
Period.
Oh.
You're you're fickle when it comes to a child's love.
Yes.
You're withholding until they provide you some sort of narcissistic value.
Yeah, there you go. Are you surprised that the level of adoration I have for a child is
based on how much they like you?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Completely ego-based. You can say my name, I fucking love you.
Yeah.
What an adorable child.
Oh, nope.
A thought's gone?
I was going to say what would happen if I accidentally ever had a child, which would never happen. Put it in a basket, down the river. Stupid baby.
And that little baby would grow up to be Moses.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome, Bible.
How would you have an accidental baby?
Mm-hmm.
That's a horror movie unto itself.
Yeah. Charles's spawn. Ugh.
Charles Rockhill in Accidental Baby. Alright, so no babies.
No babies.
If you do have a baby and there are noise hunting monsters around, go chuck the baby in a box.
Do that with all babies. I will argue that we should put all babies in a box.
Yeah.
It's like a butterfly. Put it in a little cocoon. It'll come out a person. A massively fucked up person. Like, I grew up in a box. God. I don't know where we're going with it.
No. So we've talked about the movie for long enough. If you have not seen A Quiet Place and you are still listening to this, we've done as well as we can. But we are now going to talk about bits that happen that you shouldn't know about. So to everyone who wants to see it and doesn't want to be spoiled, thank you so much for listening. And we will talk about a different movie next week that we haven't yet chosen. Thanks. Bye. Okay, now that they're all gone, I want to talk about the old guy who kills himself.
Oh my God, that was so rude.
What a fucking asshole.
There's a point in the movie where when they're walking back from the waterfall, before they realize that everything's wrong. So they're not in a rush. They're just like, we're going home. We caught some fish. And then they come across a dead old woman
Yes.
who
Either died of old age.
well, didn't she have it looked like someone scooped out her guts or something?
Maybe she'd farted.
Yeah, holding them in.
Oh, that's what happens.
Stomach exploded.
She just busted a valve.
Yep. She was dead, just right on the pathway, which I don't know how they didn't see that on the way there. And then they look up, and there's some old dude, and he clearly that's his wife.
Yeah, and he's stricken with grief, like absolutely done with life. And so he scrunches up his face and lets out just this hideous scream/cry.
Well, you can see that. What's his name in the movie? Lee. You can see what he's about to do right before he does it, and the reaction that goes across his face is just like a little bit of understanding, but also like, dude, fuck, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, because obviously he screams, and within seconds he's ripped apart by a monster, and then there's a monster there. So yeah, being grief-stricken, I get it, and wanting to just like, I'm done with this. I get it. You killed yourself an hour in.
Yep, fully.
In this scenario,
I was this old man, but I would be away from other people.
Yeah. Yeah, wait until the young man and his still in single digits aged child gets out of earshot first, mate.
Yeah.
Like, that was a haunting moment, but also, what a fucking dick move.
Yeah, that was fucking rude. Like, I can't get over just how... I get that society's crumbling. I get that there are no rules, really.
No rules.
But there's some sort of mutual respect. Because, like, when they light the fire at night, he looks around and sees the other families in the area who have also done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone knows that we're still okay over here. We're still alive.
Yeah, at least give a bit of a off you pop.
There's some...
I'm going to scream real quick.
Yeah, there's some sort of, like... There's still some semblance of society.
Yes.
No problems with you wanting to, like, off yourself. Not one bit. But, like, let handsome John Krasinski on his way.
So handsome. Actually, that's a really interesting point, because they do have the fires lit, and they do have the signal fires. Each family in the area lights their fires at night. But it's apparent in the film that they lead completely independent lives. There's no interaction with these other people. They are self-sufficient entirely. We know that there's a Quiet Place 2 coming.
Yeah, they've announced a sequel already.
Same family or not. I'd be on board if it was.
I wonder if it's going to be like one of those things where with like Nightmare on Elm Street, like Wes Craven directed the first one, and at the time that was a huge movie, and then after that he didn't direct any of them until The New Nightmare, but he was like the executive producer. So I wonder if John Krasinski would also direct the next one, or at the very least write it or produce it.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be crazy not to after such a big hit, right?
Yeah.
If they were to explore one of the other families, that I'd be totally into.
Right. I guess the other families in the area have to have figured out a way to communicate. They probably don't know sign language, but have come up with like their own version of it somehow. Not everyone can be blessed with a deaf child that gives you an advantage over everyone else.
Moral quandary. Is it not the responsibility of Lee and Evelyn, who do know sign language, to teach the other families sign language?
I don't think so.
No?
No. I mean, I could communicate non-verbally with my family, maybe not to this extent and not so eloquently, but slowly over time. Yeah. Like if any of my siblings or my mom was here, I could just look at them and they would probably know what I was thinking.
And I know the alphabet in Auslan, which is different from the American Sign Language, so I can communicate just really slowly, just spelling. You go back to the old days of when you had to press
T9 texting.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could still do that. I used to be really good at that.
Same.
Oh yeah, I mean Australian Sign Language is just American Sign Language, but you have like weird hand gestures for.
Actually, Auslan uses two hands more. A lot of ASL is one-handed, so I'm worried that Auslan would actually be louder because there'd be some times when your hands have to connect. And so all people who know Auslan dead. The first one have to use letter H. They make that noise, they're dead.
That's H?
Yeah. You slide one hand across the other.
Try to do that quietly. There you go.
Okay, but what if you're mad or in a rush or me?
Dead.
I
also of all of the pop queens to survive, it would be Britney Spears.
Explain.
Have you ever seen when she was hosting the X Factor and she was applauding, but her hands weren't touching at all? She was like, "Yay!" She was making the gesture of clapping, but her hands did not touch.
So Britney would survive.
Yep.
That's good to know.
Wait, just putting that out there.
Does Kylie survive in this scenario, and how?
Does she?
So? I don't know.
Explain yourself. Explain your math.
Well, she's quite short.
Is that an advantage?
I don't know. I see. She's smaller. She makes less noise.
Sure. Okay.
No, she doesn't know how to not wear heels. So she'd be fucked walking across the sand footpaths. I love her with all my heart and soul, but if I'm going to be true to the film universe, I think Kylie dies.
Can you just imagine her like walking along that sand trail
in stilettos?
But in stilettos, just trying to be quiet, just like, oh.
Yeah, that's like even now in 2018 in her current country phase and she's wearing cowboy boots, they're still like big heeled cowboy boots.
I think high heels aside, I don't think she would survive because it would be impossible for her to not be charming. Like, just imagine like Emily Blunt and John Krasinski and their children sitting at the table quietly eating dinner and her just walking and be like, hello. How's everyone here?
If she didn't die, she'd be the cause of a lot of death because of all the people around her constantly going, oh, she's so sweet. Dead. Actually, on the episode of Graham Norton that I've now mentioned, this is the third time, that had John Krasinski and Emily Blunt in it, Kylie Minogue was in that same episode on the couch. And Emily Blunt spent a lot of her time complimenting Kylie Minogue. So we know this for a fact, that she would cause a lot of death from everyone else going, you're so cute and sweet and beautiful.
Specifically Emily Blunt.
Specifically Emily Blunt.
Like, I know I'm pregnant and I was quiet the entire time I gave birth, but your hair is so bouncy.
Hey, we just uncovered a new feature of our podcast.
Trying to figure out how
would Brittany and or Kylie survive in this film universe?
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
I like
Perfect.
it. Great.
I would love Brittany to do a horror movie.
Kylie did a horror movie. A not very good, but fine, Australian horror film called Cut.
Okay.
That Molly Ringwald was in.
Oh.
Yeah, she was the pre-credit sequence, and so she's the first one who dies. Her tongue gets cut out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Why did she agree to do that?
Oh, why did she agree to do it? Because why wouldn't you? If like, we want you to be the pre-credit death sequence of this horror film, I'd be like, yep.
Yeah, you would, but Kylie, being Kylie,
Yeah,
can be like, no.
She did Street Fighter.
True.
She fucking loves acting, and she loves acting in silly things.
Okay.
She did 2 episodes of Young and Hungry.
I still can't believe that. I need to see that.
Yeah.
And she was in what's that singing thing that you had me watch?
Gallivant?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a cool thing. And
Was it a cool thing?
No, it wasn't that cool. She did Biodome. She played Dr. Petra von Kant in Biodome. She loves...
Petra von Kunt?
K-A-N-T.
Oh, okay.
She loves silly things.
All right.
It's one of the reasons I love her.
Fair enough.
But she is dead in the A Quiet Place universe.
Yes. Brittany survives, however.
But Brittany survives.
Perfect.
Another thing I wanted to introduce in our podcast is, because this is spooky dick jokes, what is the most inadvertently gay piece of dialogue in this film? Now, last week, Exorcist, it was Come Into Me. Mm-hmm. This week's there is no dialogue.
Yeah.
Actually, I said the wrong thing. There is no dialogue. There is plenty of dialogue. It is just delivered with sign language.
I was reading on this that they considered not subtitling the movie, so you would just feel the raw emotions of the actors, but then they decided, and you can see that they did that in the first trailer had no subtitles.
Yes.
And
I would actually have loved that.
Yeah, sure. It would have been maybe a little bit hard to follow story-wise, but I would have definitely gotten the emotion.
Yes.
They were so good at conveying what they were feeling at all times. I definitely would have understood what they were feeling.
Every week or month or whatever, people go to operas with languages they don't understand, and they follow the emotion.
I don't.
Nor do I, but people do.
Gross.
So what's the most inadvertently gay dialogue in this film?
I think it would just be John Krasinski smoldering.
Yeah. Or just the tormented scream. That seemed like a very gay, dramatic thing to do. Like the old man. Wanting to die with the most amount of audience around. That's very gay.
I'm that old man.
You are that old man.
But I'm not rude. Not that rude.
So another piece of trivia about this movie is that it was, for a brief spell, going to be part of the Cloverfield universe.
Which I spotted that immediately.
Yes.
Just because of how the monsters are created.
Yes.
They just seem like, after watching Cloverfield and Cloverfield Lane, it just seemed like a character that showed up out of nowhere to just fuck everything up.
And also, it's not explained to you how they got there or what people's reactions to it arriving were. It's just like, this is here now, deal with it.
Right.
And I really enjoy that. I love being dropped into a film universe where you just gotta, this is how it is, figure it out. So yeah, it definitely had all the hallmarks of being under the Cloverfield umbrella, but apparently after they were pitching around to studios, they decided not to do it.
Thankfully. I think it's to their...
benefit.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Because, well, it totally would have worked. I think that people would have been like, oh, another one?
Yeah, exactly. There's something to be said for the prestige that comes with a big title like Cloverfield. However, after the clunker that was the Cloverfield Paradox, which I actually really liked, in terms of the prestige or the credibility of the brand, it took a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're better off, far better off being a standalone piece.
Well, it's like how Saw 2 was not supposed to be Saw.
Yeah.
They just added some things in to bring it back around.
To make it sorry.
To make it sorry?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Saw-y.
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 Not sorry.
Not sorry. Saw.
Sorry, not sorry. Saw-y, not sorry. Ah.
Same with the video game Silent Hill 4, The Room.
Oh, yeah.
It was never going to be a Silent Hill game. It was just a horror game of being trapped in a room. And then there was like...
It's
no.
just barely a Silent Hill game.
I loved it. However, it would have worked better probably as a standalone game.
Yeah. I didn't finish it.
Didn't you?
I didn't get to the end. Why are we talking about Silent Hill again?
Because it is my favorite piece of horror fiction. It's tattooed on my actual skin.
I do love Silent Hill.
Yeah, so it's always going to come back to Silent Hill. I'm sorry. But yes, they did not make it a piece of the Cloverfield franchise, and they're better off for it because it means they now get to move forward under their own franchise with A Quiet Place 2 already greenlit.
Yeah, with no one attached yet.
Yes. We don't know if John Krasinski's going to write it or direct it. We know he can't star in it. Spoiler.
Oh, that was heartbreaking. It's also rare that a horror movie can make me upset.
Yes.
Not in like a, oh my god, that was weird, or oh my god, that was scary. Like, emotionally upset.
Genuinely moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was weird to cry during a horror movie.
So what would you want to see from A Quiet Place 2?
I think that, okay, well, if we're going to spoil the end of it, John Krasinski died, and Reagan saves the day.
Yeah, so throughout the movie, it is discovered that Reagan's cochlear implant, which does not properly work, causes a feedback with the monsters, because the monsters' heads are pretty much one giant ear that makes them freak out and run away or get aggressive. And at the end of the film, yeah, she slams that cochlear implant up against a microphone, which causes them to freak out so much that it's not fully explained, but they're covered in armor. You can't shoot them. But the noise freaks them out so much that the armor seems to separate and lift off the head. Yeah. Which then Evelyn blasts to fuck with a shotgun, which was so tremendously satisfying.
Yeah. So from a sequel, it would be interesting to find a new family.
I agree. I think if you were to carry on with this family, it stops being a horror film. It becomes an action film because now they know how to kill them.
Right. Which leads you into like Aliens territory as opposed to Alien.
Yeah.
If Sigourney Weaver is just showing up to kick ass, it's more of a horror movie.
It's exactly
or more of an
how I
action
feel.
movie, I'm sorry. More of an action movie, which is still great.
Yeah.
I think that what would be interesting would be either going that route and still figuring out how to make it a horror movie, but still like something where you can still have that kind of raw emotion and kind of like general sense of dread throughout the whole thing and still make it maybe a little actiony.
Yeah.
Or if let's say that you had a new family, but they're dealing with the aftermath of this where they figured out how to kill them.
Right.
Like people figuring out how they can create something like that themselves to help defend their home and their family.
Well, that's the thing, because another family surviving this long could have a whole different system of survival, because the Abbotts, this family, have laid down sand for walkways. They have a string of lights that go red when there's an emergency. They speak only in sign language. When they want to go inside the house, which is wooden and creaky, they have painted sections of floorboard where you walk so it doesn't creak. They have fireworks for an emergency. They have all these things set up. A different family could have worked out an entire different system.
Yeah.
That would be really, really interesting to learn about. I also thought about the possibility of maybe a prequel, like going back to when they first arrived.
I think that would be a better third movie.
Because that would ruin some of the magic of what this film has in its favour, which is the monsters are here, they hunt by sound, that's it.
Yeah, if you do a prequel, it's just going to be like a shit ton of people dying.
Yeah.
There's not going to be like a survival tactic.
Yeah.
But again, it would be much like if we followed Reagan into a second one, it would be a lot more of an action movie, which would be interesting. A third one, if it was a prequel, would also do that and be more of like an Independence Day kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where everyone's just like fucked.
Yeah, so I think the best option would be a different family around about the same time learning about there may be a way to stop this.
But I think that eventually it would be nice if the center was a different family, but eventually they showed up to help.
Yeah.
Or
at the end of the film, like Emily Blunt's character just kicks open the door, probably pregnant again somehow.
Oh, what happened to the baby survived, right?
Baby fully survived.
Yeah.
They popped the baby in a box, and then the basement flooded.
Just left it there.
And the box was floating, and the monster was heading towards the box, and she managed to get the baby out of the box.
Mm-hmm. And behind that water.
And behind the water.
But then the little boy's holding it when they're killing the monsters.
Yes.
Yeah. Got it. Now I remember. Yeah, she just like kicked open the door and was like, come with me, cunts. End of film.
That'd be great.
Finn.
Speaking of Finn, I think that's pretty much Finn for us.
I would say, yeah. I think we got it all out.
Have anything else to mention about A Quiet Place?
I think that it says a lot that Stephen King endorsed the fuck out of it
Yes.
on Twitter.
And I think, I want to reiterate, because I know part of this podcast job, we made fun of it, like, how do you fart? How do you have sex? But this film is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely one of my favorite horror films now, because of the concept and just how creepy it was. And like you said at the very beginning of the show, the constant sense of dread is what I fucking love in horror.
Yeah, because it's like a creaturey alien kind of movie. Again, those aren't my favorite, but that's not really... I mean, for them being not the protagonist.
Antagonist.
And that word. Wow. Them being the antagonist, they're not really in the movie that much.
No.
Which is probably helped me like it a lot more.
Absolutely. The focus is on the family and how they survive, and that made it better. So that's The Quiet Place. We loved it.
I loved it. I want to go see it again.
I was about to say, all the people who turned off because they didn't want to get spoilers can turn back in now, but how would they know? But never mind.
They've gone to see it, and they came back to finish the episode.
Oh, brilliant. So thank you for coming back and listening to the tail end of this. That's very diligent of you. And now we're done. And we have no idea what we're going to talk about next week.
Do we want to, alternate?
Yes,
between
I think next week
classics
should be
and newer movies?
Well, classics, cinema movies, and things that you can watch on Netflix.
Okay.
Or Hulu, or whichever.
Sure.
So let's find something on the streamings.
Okay, so we did Demonic Possession.
Yep.
Now we've done Creature. What subgenre do we want to go for?
Ooh. Maybe try and find some slasher?
Slasher.
A person, a human killing thing.
Perfect.
Great. And we don't know what it is yet, but we'll find out, and we'll put it on our socials so that you know what to either watch ahead of time, or if you haven't been able to watch it, when to avoid us. Please don't ever avoid us.
Speaking of socials...
Oh yeah, you can find us on social media. On Twitter, we are at Dirty Horror Pod. On Instagram,
we are Dirty Little Horror Podcast.
And on Facebook, I guess...
Dirty Little Horror.
There you go.
That one is not published yet because I need to finish it.
Fun fact, while preparing to make this podcast months ago, Charles very proactively got all the social media pages up and running, including the Facebook page. But because we didn't get a show out for so long, Facebook was literally like, we have unpublished your page because you are not doing anything with it.
Yep.
So now we have to do stuff to it and put it back up.
Yep.
If you'd like to follow us individually on social media, you can find me. I'm Chris Opotamia. And Charles is Charles Rockhill. At Charles Rockhill across everything. Yeah. Yay. All right, thanks very much. Try not to die. And don't make any noises. And fart quietly. Shh. Shh. Quieter. NPR voices. ASMR. God. Bye. He also, for some scenes, played the monster in a motion capture suit. Okay, so there's a fourth thing he did. Is there anything he didn't do in this film? Live to the end of it. Spoilers, Christopher. I'm gonna cut that bit out.